Hello, everybody. This is Vanessa Horn, and I have my special guest, a client, a close friend, and colleague, Isabelle Tierney, on with me today. And we're doing a very special, hey, she's coming in from Colorado. I am coming in from North Carolina. And we are doing a very special Facebook Live behind the scenes. And this is for entrepreneurs. And this is for you, especially if you can resonate with the way that Isabelle and I are, which is we're deeply heart-centered. We really care about doing extraordinary work in the world and impacting our clients' lives. And we're unwilling to market ourselves online or anywhere else in a way that would compromise the way that we are committed to showing up in the world and the way that we really do show up. If people experience this in person, we want that magic to be translated to an online messaging. And so if you also struggle with your cash flow reflecting your level of mastery, and you're wondering, how can I stop being the best kept secret? How can more people know about my work? How can more people be impacted? How can I change more lives? Then this Facebook Live today is for you, because we're going to be pulling back the curtain. We're going to be sharing with you the details of how Isabelle, here's somebody who's deeply soulful in her work. And you're going to hear this woman who's extraordinarily masterful at her craft. She was a therapist, has years of credentials and experience, and how in our work together, specifically packaging up her services in such a way that she could conduct a one-to-many service delivery, meaning she could service more than one person at a time via group coaching programs, via online courses. And she and I got to work together several years ago for the first time. And since then, you'll hear how prolific she's been in her content creation. And I know that that might resonate with some of you who are multi-passionate, who are multi-talented, who have diverse interests, and you're wondering, how do I really portray myself in the world and people get what I do? And that's what Isabelle struggled with before. And you're going to be able to see how she was able to take all that passion and all that soul, and with our work together, being able to combine that. So Isabelle, welcome.
Oh my God. You are so good. Even at just the introduction, I'm like, the way you know how to help kind of hone in a message, even honing your own message. Me, you are just amazing. You're just so good at this. And I'm so grateful that I have gotten to work with you and to actually utilize that incredible gift of yours.
So in our Facebook Live today, and we want to hear from you guys, place into the chat, interact with us. What kinds of questions do you want to know? Because what we're going to be walking you through is, if you can identify with the way Isabelle is, with the way that I am, which is you're deeply committed to doing extraordinary work, and you're wondering, how in the world can I really make good money from this? And in fact, the numbers that we're going to give you that are possibilities, we're talking about being in the top 1 to 3% earners in the world. And the truth of the matter is that most people have no idea of what potential there is if you are really walking in your gifts, how you can earn that money. And so today we're going to be talking about some of those core principles, and specifically because I do work with purpose-driven entrepreneurs around how to create multiple streams of income. But today's conversation is primarily for service providers, for individuals who are who could potentially add an additional income stream from having an online course. Now, you've probably taken multiple online courses. Type into the chat a number 1 if you've ever taken an online course, or if you've ever participated in a online or even in-person group coaching program, because that's going to be the income stream that we're going to be talking about today, and talking about how virtually anyone is capable of creating one of these as one of their income streams based on your expertise, based on your passions, based on your story. And as Isabelle, as we go through her story, I want you to see the possibilities that might be available for you. And we'll be taking time to go into greater explanation on some of these things so you'll know how you could potentially apply it to yourself. And all the stuff that we're covering today comes from the work that I do with entrepreneurs in a program called the Signature Series, thesignatureseries.com, and there's a core component called Create Your Signature Program. And so you're going to hear Isabelle and I, and I'll take the time where I can to expound upon the explanation of words that you may hear us use that you may be unfamiliar with. But I really want you to hear her story and be inspired about what is possible, that you can live a deeply soulful life, be extraordinary, and change your clients' lives and make good money in the process. So Isabelle, I'd love for you to start by sharing, like, how would you describe your intention of how you wanted to show up in the world? And as you've been navigating your career, your commitment to making a difference, share what that looked like before our work together, and like some of the things that were delightful about it, but maybe even some of the challenges that you were experiencing.
So first of all, Allison said that my sound didn't sound great. So Allison, I turned it up a little bit. Am I sounding clearer? Let me know about that because I turned my mic up a little bit, but then Vanessa's really loud in my ears. Hopefully that's gonna, you're so enthusiastic, Vanessa. I'm like,
bring it closer to you because I could hear you whenever you got closer to your computer for some reason. Yeah, Allison says
totally okay, let me take my earphones off. Hold on. Let me see if that works any better. Does that work any better? Okay. So when you met me, I was a full-time therapist, and I had started to be a therapist because I wanted to serve, right? I had so much of my own shit, of my own trauma that I was healing and working on, that as I did that, I realized, oh my God, I can help other people actually get out of living in hell and create a life that feels a lot better. So I became a licensed therapist, and I very quickly built my practice. So I never have struggled, seemingly, with success, right? It's come fairly easy to me. I work really hard, and I was pretty successful. I had a full practice, and I was freaking exhausted. By the time I met you, I had been doing it for about 15 years. And I had, which you and I have talked about a million times, I had very serious adrenal exhaustion. Like, I remember actually wishing that I could get sick, because I thought that if I got sick, then I would be lounging in bed and finally having the time to like write and meditate and do all the things I wanted to do. And then if I'm sick, I'm not going to be wanting to do that in bed. So I got to find a different way to lead my life. That, I was seeing 30 clients a week. It was so insane. And it was just, my body, mind, and soul were exhausted. And I had all this creativity, right? You talk about multi-passions. I had so many ideas, and I would start writing a book about the body, or I would start writing this program about painful habits. But every time I'd be too scared. I wouldn't know how to really launch a program. And I was too freaking tired. And then I was too scared anyway that I wouldn't know how to make money the new way. And I would always revert back to what was familiar, was always easy for me, which was to be a therapist. So I'm telling you, the people in my life know this. I've created like 10 different brands. I have, semi-birthed 10 different products. And every time, right before I really launched them, I would be too tired. I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be overwhelmed. And then I'd get too scared. And I would just go back to the safety of my private practice. Brian, who's my partner, who's on, my beloved, who's on this with us, the other day I said to him, I'm thinking about creating another brand, the Heaven on Earth brand. He goes, Isabelle, I go to bed every night just hoping and praying you're going to create another brand, right? Being sarcastic about how many I've created, but that were never actually completed because I didn't know how. And I was really scared that I wouldn't know how to make money and succeed with them.
What I want to do now, By the way, I think it gets when I speak, it comes back in. So maybe while I'm speaking, oh no, it's good now. Okay. So I want to fast forward and then we'll fill in the blanks of like how you got to where you're at now. But I want to give people a picture of where you're at now so they can be inspired about how there you were. The work you were doing as a therapist was inspired by your own journey of overcoming your eating disorder addiction, and you became best in the world. Like, you had a waiting list when we met, and I remember we met at a Rich Lippman event, and it was
That's
based on the question, "What do you not want to know? This is what I don't want you to know about me." And you and I had a very deeply heart-connected moment where you were sharing with me, and I was sharing with you some of the things I had experienced as a mom and being an entrepreneur and that struggle, and you had shared about your story, and it's like we connected at that event, and I could see, I got to experience just the power of your work, which is deeply spiritual, which is deeply transformative. Like, the tools and the principles that you use are so powerful. It was no wonder you had a waiting list. You had 30 clients, which most therapists, I know, like, they start feeling that, you know, around 24 or 25, they start feeling exhausted full time. And you had 30, and you are being asked to speak on stages. You are being asked to be part of telesummits, and you were world known for your work in helping like the worst of the worst cases to overcome. And yet that was also leading you to be depleted. And now fast forward to today. You have this gorgeous home, which you have transformed into a retreat center, Cloud9.
Yeah, Cloud9. Yeah, look at my beautiful lamps. I'm in my bedroom, which is like a golden bedroom. It's like, I love this house. Like the retreat, we call this house Hogwarts because it's like the most magical place. Yes, I love this. Yeah.
It is. So here, that had been on your heart. You're saying, how can I lead these deeply transformative, soulful retreats, which you do now? You now have launched multiple programs based on, and I want to emphasize that it wasn't just because of your background as a therapist in eating disorder. Your program wasn't just on that. You and your partner had been through a massively amazing story of having been divorced and then reigniting love. And so you launched a program around that, which is essentially your story and the tools you guys figured out to navigate that together. So there you had that brand of Reignite Love. You had Dare to Be You. You had the Feel Good Way. So here were these multi-passions that you had that you, through our work together, we're able to, and I want us to walk through what was that like for you, because I remember you being a therapist and saying, wait, people will pay me that much for group work? Like, seriously, I can help people in a group and they'd be willing to pay that? And I'm like, yes, Isabelle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you transitioned, and now it's like, it's nothing for you to enroll $50,000 clients, $8,000 clients for group work. I mean, you just are prolific in not only in your capacity to create the programs, but now your confidence in marketing them and filling them. And I know you and I have teased a lot because we've taken the amazing spiritual work that you've done, which a lot of entrepreneurs come to me and saying, wait, how do I explain this? How do I describe what I do so it makes it easy for clients to enroll with me? So, and now you're being a guest speaker on stages, sought after. And I'd love for you to share, what was some of that transition like for you? What was it like for you to, I know you had already were pursuing coaching, even though you were a therapist. Yeah. So what drew you into the coaching arena? And then share what it's been like for you to lead groups of individuals through your transformative work.
Well, it's interesting. I remember when I read Rich Lippman's book, The Prosperous Coach, and so I emailed him right away, and I said to him, hey, I'm a therapist and I'm going to transition into coaching. And his first email back to me ever, he goes, uh-oh, that's not easy. And I literally wrote him back and I was like, I don't know if I said F you, but certainly I was like, dude, you don't know me. Like, it is like, you can have generalizations about, yeah, like you can generalize other people, but not me. Actually, he was so right. Like, to transition, because there are two things we can talk about therapy to coach. One is what the content of the work is and the I'm working with. So I'll get to that in a second. But that is what you're talking about and what you teach, which is the price point. It's so insane. I'm a licensed therapist, right? I went to school. I have multiple degrees. And as a coach, I can charge like quadruple what it is I can charge a therapist. It's a little bit crazy, the difference in the coaching, but it goes back to who the population is that we serve. Often as a coach, I take people who have already become centered, have become strong, are not still dealing with a lot of trauma, and I'm helping them access kind of the next powerful phase of their life. So it's very different. As a therapist, I help people leave trauma and come to center. As a coach, to like, what's the next amazing, powerful, transformative place you want to get to in your life, right? It's to thriving instead of just surviving. And so it's taken me 3 years. And I'm telling you, this is not because I'm on Facebook Live with you. You are probably the single most instrumental person that has helped me make that transition because you know how to have me think about myself and about the work that I do in a way that I don't think about. For me, things are obvious, like, oh yeah, I do a session and then they leave and they feel better. But you're like, you are a thought leader and you're transformative. Yet like you're able to put words onto what I do that suddenly make me realize the value, which then gives me the confidence to say, oh yeah, then I can charge that. And I actually lost, I want to say this, always being transparent. As I did that piece of work with you of shifting to charging more and doing more groups, because I literally could not give anymore. This wasn't about, hey, I want to get rich off my clients. I was dying is a bit of an exaggeration, right? But I was in exhaustion. I could not maintain the pace. And you and I always talk about this. I refuse to sell something that I'm not living. So how could I live a transformative life? How could I how could I sell an awakened life? If I could, like Brian knows this, this is when we were still married. At the end of the day, I couldn't talk to anybody. I would see my 8 clients and the poor man would be making dinner and I'd be like a man. I'm sorry, man. I would like just turn the TV on and be like, don't talk to me. I wasn't leading a life. And so you and I have talked about this thing about, can we have success without stress, right? That has been our motto for the 5 years. We talk almost every day, like, how do we do this? Because we as women, we do things than men, and we do it differently than what society might expect us. So that shift for me was financial. The financial piece was a great side effect of finding a way to live a life in which I have time to sit outside. I have time to watch spring unfold. I have time to get on the phone with you or with Allison or with Amy, where I have a quality of life that is, and it's not just a quantity, of like money or clients or like how much I'm doing. And we're all freaking exhausted. Like every woman that I know is freaking exhausted. And we are all of us, right, in our community, we're trying to find a way to lead a life that is more spacious, but that still allows us to make enough money that we can travel and we can learn new things and we have time and space. And that's what working with you really did for me.
Well, and I want to take a moment to like slow down what we're talking about, because some people might be like, wait, how are they doing this? What does this mean? And so I want to just explain that you who are watching this, you likely have years of experience or years of something that you've studied something. Type into the chat a 2 if that's you. You're like, how do I take all this diverse background that I have? And I say that there's this signature sweet spot that is what you love. And I always like to ask my clients the question, if this were the last year of your life, what do you need to create? What do you want to outlive you? What is an embodiment of your message? What have you experienced in your life that you've overcome, that you've figured out? And so many of us discount that. But there's other people who are trying to solve problems in their life that you've figured out. And you can package that into something that you serve via a course or a group coaching program. The second thing is what is your zone of genius? And when I say zone of genius, most of us overlook our zone of genius, what we're really, really amazing at. And sometimes I would describe it as if I took a cross-country trip with you and we were in the car for 6 to 12 hours together, how would I be different as a result of spending time with you? Or if I took you out to coffee and I asked you a question, what can you share prolifically about with zero effort? Those are clues to your zone of genius. And someone like Isabelle, who has these processes that she'd been walking clients through to overcome addictions, or these processes to reconnect in relationship with her, reignite love processes, or these ways to experience heaven on earth so that you're not just living life conditional on having certain things a certain way before you're completely experiencing peace, love, and joy in the here and now. She had these processes, these practices, these ways that she was living this. And I said, Isabelle, like, that's what thought leadership is owning that, naming that, and now let's walk other people through those steps. Now, the third piece in your signature sweet spot, besides what you love and what is your zone of genius, is what will the market pay you for? Now, a lot of heart-centered, purpose-driven, soulful individuals who are committed to serving powerfully, this is the area where I see you get hung up, is the marketing piece. And frankly, I have a whole philosophy about marketing because this is my passion. I mean, I got an MBA and I've studied and built and sold several businesses. And I'm actually really, really passionate about the marketing piece because we can serve with our marketing. We can actually make a difference. And I had been to an event, and Isabelle, I think you may have potentially even been at that event, where different people were saying words like, when you hear the word marketing, what do you think? And everyone was sharing different words. And one of the words that somebody said was unspiritual. Mm-hmm. And I raised my hand and I said, spiritual. Because to me, if we're not utilizing the airwaves of the internet, of the online platforms, Facebook Lives, YouTube, all the different ways that people are spending their time online, if those of us doing deeply transformative, soulful work in the world, are not the ones who are utilizing those airwaves, then we have nothing to complain about. For those who are sleazy and pushy and in-your-face marketing who are dominating it. No, there is room for those of us who are doing conscious work in the world, who are elevating mankind, who are making massive contributions from our place of saying, like, I want to give my life in service. There's room for those of us to step into leading how marketing can be done differently. And one of the things I so appreciate about one of your brands, Isabelle, was your Dare to Be You. You launched a podcast on this, and you embody and live being real. And I just would love for you to share how you were able to utilize that as a way that you create clients. Is just by you being you being real, you being authentic, and how we don't have to bend over and do business or do marketing in a way that looks and sounds just like everybody else, but we can truly show up in authentic ways, and it attracts our ideal clients. Share a little bit about what you specifically do and what some of those experiences have been like.
Well, the funny thing is, I want to throw it right back at you, because you have a thing that is, I'll have what she's having. And most of the people who end up working with me is that they see something about the way I lead my life that they want for themselves, right? So whether it's my process of daring to be you or your process of I'll have what she's having, I want to be the embodiment of what I sell, right? That's what I was saying before, which is so freaking great, because when I'm not doing that, that is my immediate filter to my own self, that I'm not in integrity with what I sell. And it's always been a driving force of mine. And I think that's really the answer to what you're saying. Like, I have done a lot of work on working with my core beliefs, with my emotions, with my traumas, have taught that, continue to teach that. And now I lead a life in which my job, my highest practice is to create heaven on earth. And so that's what I quote unquote sell, because that's what I want to practice. And, I've always said that sometimes I'm a millimeter ahead of my clients. Sometimes I'm 100 miles ahead of my clients, but it's always the work that I'm doing for myself that I end up teaching my clients. Actually, it's funny. I was sitting at my fountain yesterday with a client of mine, and we were in a deep meditation, like God was speaking to me. And I'm like, wait a minute, I get paid? Like, this is crazy. It's what I love to do every day that I would do regardless of if anybody paid me. And I get paid, I'm going to use your old word, handsomely for that, generously for that. And so, the people who not only want to work with me, but then end up getting, like I have an apprentice, for example, I have people who are saying, I want you to train me what you do, because literally I do what I love to do anyway, and I get paid for it. So I'm not sure if that was the answer to your question, but that's the point.
Well, and just how do you create clients? How do you create clients? Because one of the things that we're talking about.
This is kind of crazy, because these days, the ways I create clients, and I feel it's funny, I feel a little embarrassed to say it. And again, I'm not sure if that's the point of your question, but I literally listen to what Spirit, it makes me want to cry. Like, I listen to what Spirit says to me now. And literally 2 months ago, Spirit was like, you're going to create an apprenticeship. This is how much you're going to charge. This is who you're going to ask. You're going to create a group. This is who you're going to ask. This is what you're going to charge. All of which was way more money than I had ever. I was like, what? And not the people necessarily I had originally thought I would ask. And every single person I asked ended up saying yes without questioning the money, because I'm literally completely Spirit-led in the way I enroll clients. Like, I, Isabelle, don't enroll clients anymore. God, Spirit, Source, whatever you want to call it, it tells me, and then I surrender and I just take action on what I hear. So that's also, right, part of my practice. My zone of genius is to listen to God. My zone of genius is to understand what I'm being told to do and then to act upon it. And that's amazing.
And I want to emphasize this, because this is something that's unique to what we both live with our work and what I teach, is to go high end. Why? Why would you go high end versus just creating a program at a low price point in the market? Because that, a lot of people would say, launch an online course that cost, I don't know, between $7 and $197. But the truth of the matter is, we have this perception that we're going to be able to impact a lot of lives with a very low end product. But the thing is that in order to get that kind of a low-end product out to the market, into the masses, you need to have a substantial following, a substantial email database, a substantial platform already built. And the truth of the matter is that when I teach clients how to make multiple streams of income, which is like, how do you really make multiple six figures from these group programs that Isabelle and I are talking about? And the way that you do that is, and I teach really that you have 3 price points from one program creation, but you create a program, and if information, this is my philosophy, if information alone would transform people's lives, all of us would have 6-pack abs and be billionaires, right? Because everything is basically on YouTube or on Google or in a book somewhere. But what really deeply transforms clients' lives, and I would love for you to share maybe some of the details in your own programs, Isabelle, that make it worthy of a high fee. Now, when Isabelle and I say high fees, we're talking about for people to participate in a group program that they're investing several thousand to multiple tens of thousands of dollars to work with you as an individual who can lead them through a deeply transformative process. Now, why would people pay that? what would make a program worthy of that? Isabelle's going to share some details from her own programs. The other thing is, it is the fastest path to making multiple six figures too from your expertise. But the beautiful thing that I teach my clients to do is you can repurpose that content and offer it at a low price point for people who can't afford to work with you at those high levels. It's like, okay, do the do-it-yourself program, go through the home study version of it, and then on occasion, some of us do still choose to work with clients one-on-one. And anytime that we do launch a group coaching program, I've seen it across the board with the hundreds of clients that I've helped launch programs, your one-on-one rate goes up. Your one-on-one rate goes up because I always look at it as what's your day rate. And if you can do group work in a day and it's, let's say, it brings you in $10,000, it's difficult to then turn around and say, okay, I'm going to charge a client $1,500 for the day. You can't do that. You're like, okay, I could do a group for $10,000. That must make my one-on-one rate $15,000, or, it has to make sense financially. And it bumps your one-on-one rates up as soon as you launch a transformative group program. And I always have those three price points with clients: one-on-one, which is very, very limited; group program, which is my preferred method; and then people who are just like, I just want access to the curriculum. So now, years later, Isabelle, with you, I know you have programs at those different price points. I want you to share just some of the ingredients of what would make, and I'll totally brag on you on what I've experienced from the transformative side of things, but what would make a client be willing to invest several $1,000s to be a part of a group and to walk through one of your processes, whether it be the Heaven on Earth, or whether it be the Feel Good Way, or whether it be Reignite. Share what you're mindful to include that make it different than everything else that's out there.
Yeah, you see, this is what we're so good at, and this is what makes it so hard. I promise you I will answer that. I want to say this, though, to people listening who might be therapists watching. I love intimacy, right? I love one-on-one work. And so when you talk about, creating a big email list, every time I've tried to go to thousands of people, I get so freaking bored, right? Because I love my smaller groups. I just love intimacy. And so what you taught me is how to bridge the gap of that I can do intimacy and still charge a lot more than I was comfortable with, that I didn't have to get 1,000 people to sign up for my program in order to make that kind of money. But that was really a huge mindset shift that took time. Remember how much I fought you on that? It was really, really hard. So I want to just say to people, really consider working with Vanessa. I'm happy to talk to you about it more, but it's to shift again from therapy to coaching to much higher prices. Then that brings us back to the question you had. You have to believe that, and you've taught that the outcome that the client is going to walk away with, that the life they're going to have once they go through the program is going to be that much better than had they not taken my program, that's worth the investment, right? And that's what you taught me. You would always be like, well, what's the outcome? What is it that they're going to walk away with? And so, for example, when Brian and I did Reignite, we just did our final testimonial interview 6 months later, right? Usually you do an online course and a month later, especially couples, they totally forget what they've learned. We just did a final interview 6 months later, and they were still talking about, we fight less. We know how to get out of the stress response faster. We love each other more. We're more committed. We don't stay in these longer fights. It's like, wow, that is, again, imagine yourself today and 6 months from, you're going to be more connected to them. You're going to be less reactive. Wouldn't you be willing to pay a lot of money for that, as opposed to waiting another 20 years until maybe you've done the work by yourself enough, long enough, by reading enough self-help books that maybe you'll be there by then? The Heaven on Earth program, the promise is that you're going to learn to access a higher kind of frequency inside of you, right? That you're going to be able to live more sustainably at a place that you're more connected to yourself, you're more connected to God, and you're bringing that into your personal life. You're not just like walking around, like looking up in the sky, be like totally foofy spiritual, but actually that you will be able to like ground your spirituality. And so again, we can take 20 years to do that, or we can take my program, we said 8 months in a group with other women doing this, and the outcomes. You've taught me about outcomes, like outcomes, the default life if you don't take the program, and the life that can happen if you take my program. So I'm using your language because that's the way I was able to finally start charging enough for that. That's freaking valuable.
Yeah, and I want to just take a moment right now to give our guests a link to a blueprint that will walk you through, if you're considering, like, how do I take what I know is my knowledge, or what I have experienced, or what I have been through in life, can I really create a additional income stream via an online course or via a group coaching program? And if you go to freesignature blueprint.com, you'll get a link to a download. It's basically the 5 key steps that you need to consider, how you would go about doing it. And so I want to take a moment right now to just accentuate a couple of key points, because I have a lot of entrepreneurs who come to me and they're like, Vanessa, how do I market myself? How do I market myself? Maybe you're already coaching people, or you are a service provider, and I say anybody can create a online course or group coaching program, and it will feed any of your other income streams. And I've worked with people who are in their jobs, and they've been a consultant, and they're like, can I really have an additional income stream on the side of like my own brand? And I'm like, yes, let's take your expertise and package it with your own brand, your own program. And this is how you would market it online. So a lot of people come to me and start with the question, how do I market myself? How do I market myself? How do I market myself? And I say, you know what? We don't have any business talking about marketing before we talk about what transformative outcome do you create for your clients. So it's like, what's your offer? Because I've had clients come to me who had 800 million impressions on social media. I'm not kidding. And I'm like, well, how much money are you making from all that exposure? I mean, they had a documentary, they had millions of followers on Instagram. And I said, how much money are you making? Believe it or not, they said none. We have not figured out how to monetize this brand. So many of you are thinking, oh, if I just get out in front of people, if I just market myself, that'll turn into money. No, you have to have a core offer. And so that freesignatureblueprint.com will walk you through some of those things. But as Isabelle pointed out, the key questions that you want to ask is, whom do you serve? Who is that audience? Who is that perfect client that if you could get more of those kinds of people, you know, by them working with you, you could help them achieve X outcome? What is the benefit of their work with you? Because people don't buy number of classes. They don't even buy, a 3-day event. They don't buy a retreat at Isabelle's Cloud9 gorgeous home. People are buying what they believe would be the transformation, the difference they will experience as a result of that. What is the experience that they will have, or how will it make their life different and better? And if you can have a service that takes care of a top of mind problem, like think of people, what they're typing into Google that they want to get solved today, then you can market to that. And then you reverse engineer your marketing. And you have to, when somebody asks you the question, well, what do you do? And a lot of entrepreneurs that when they first come to me, I'm like, well, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your business. And they have this business and this business and this business and this business. And I'm like, well, do any of them make you 6 figures? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, we need to focus. Let's focus and create you momentum in one income stream first. And so you have to laser down. You can't be all over the place. And so when somebody asks you the question, what do you do? It's most effective when you're pointing to something that's directly related to your offer. even if it's like what you're feeling right now. And Isabelle, I'd love for you to share in just a moment about how you've conglomerated your multiple programs into an academy. And so how do you express what do you do in a way that people get what you do? And if you're having to answer in paragraphs, you don't have a succinct message. You have to be able to answer the question, what do you do, in 1 to 2 sentences. And it has to be understandable enough to somebody that is like a middle school languaging, because if you're trying to use too many complex words, and there's this quote by Nelson Mandela that I really love, that he says, if you speak to somebody in a language he understands, you're speaking to his head. If you speak in his language, you're speaking to his heart. And so I say marketing is an act of love. It's an act of love to say, how can I translate what I do in such a way that you will understand it? So like basically what I do with my clients is I help them to discover and identify what are their gifts and how they can make money from it online via an online coaching program or course. That's it. Like super simple, but there's so many depths to the work that we do together that's deeply spiritual, that's based on my work, my messaging of you're enough. And the same thing for you, Isabelle. You do these massively, deeply spiritual work and processes with clients, but we had to like take it up a level in its messaging to be as succinct, as clear as possible so that people got what you do and it could be easier for them to say yes to working with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember you and I early on, we did a half day, a VIP half day. And it was when I was wanting to sell the feel good way. And I kept struggling because I was like, I don't know how to sell the outcome to feel good, to feel God. And you were like, Isabelle, people want to buy programs that make money, or people want to buy programs that make you be thin, or people want to, whatever it is, because in the end, all we ever want is to feel good and to feel God. So really what what I'm selling is I can help you. I call it the false gods, right? Of money or thinness or whatever it is we've got. I go straight to the source. Let's go straight to the source of helping you connect to God inside of you, to feeling good inside of you, so that whether you have millions of dollars or whether you are a person, it doesn't matter, that peace, love, and joy always lives inside of you. But oh my God, I wouldn't have been a paragraph when I first met you. I would have been a 2-page if you had said to me, what do you do? And you really have taught me to get really clear. And it's a thing, it's not just about for us. I love what you said. What did you say? Marketing is a spiritual gift. I mean, when I'm clear and when I say I can help you connect to feeling good, to feeling God, that's even just in those words. Like people go, oh, right? Like even in that moment, there's already healing occurring. And so that's one of the things that you're so fabulous at. Like it's not marketing. Even in the act of speaking what we're good at, there's already healing that starts occurring.
Well, and one of the things about marketing that I teach is that when you get clear about what your value systems are, because a lot of people say, well, what's your niche or who do you serve, right? We want to be clear about who that end user is. But when we're clear about our values, when we're clear about how we want to show up in the world, and we weave that in to our marketing strategically and very artfully and classy, but not as you have to be careful in, like I said, the forefront of your message needs to be super, super clear. But when you have marketing assets in place that inform people what you do and how you do it, and it's weaved with your value system in there, by the time they get through the end of that and you have a call to action, I teach like some of these basics of marketing so that you're not just getting brand exposure out in the world. So if you guys noticed a little earlier, I gave you my website to get that free blueprint, freesignatureblueprint.com, and you can download this free gift. And from there, you're going to be exposed to additional resources to take this further, including if you want to jump on the phone and you and I can talk about what your potential program can be. How could we help you take the work that you do with one-on-one clients, or maybe the work that you're doing at your corporate job as a consultant, or maybe the work that you've been coaching clients, but nobody really gets what you do, and so you struggle creating clients. You'll be given the opportunity for a complimentary session, but I've got a number of free resources that I give you there, and that's an example of a call to action. And so that's one core marketing strategy, is like leading people, serving them along the way, giving generously. And my personal philosophy is, let us give for free the stuff that other people would charge for. I'd rather just give it away for free. That's how I can impact more lives. And those that I serve are invested at higher levels, because I personally believe like them investing in themselves is part of the transformation. I know when I stepped up to the plate and hired my first coach, which was multiple thousands of dollars, and I was choosing that instead of driving a luxury car. I mean, you talk about $40,000 for a coach versus driving a luxury car. That was no small decision on my part, but I knew I was making an investment in myself. And the moment that I committed to myself, that was the majority of the transformation. Really, it wasn't just the work that I did with my coach. It's the fact that I was stopped giving lip service to something and I took action on something I'd been talking about for years. And so, Isabelle, as we wrap up this call, is there anything that you want to share further? I wanted you to share a little bit about your academy so that people really can hear like how you've put this umbrella academy together with all your different programs, and then just any final words that you would love to leave our audience with.
Well, so I just turned 54, right? And I adore my work, and I'm really, really lucky. And I continue to try to find ways where I don't have to show up to one client per 1 hour, right? Because if I want to take a vacation, if I want to do this, if I want to do that, then the one client per hour isn't good. And also, I'd like to have some retirement money and to be able to have even more space than I already have. And so the other day, talking to you, actually, once again, I realized that I have all this content, some of which has been put in online courses, some of which has just been sitting on my computer. And I've been saying, well, what do I do? What do I do? And you said, why don't you do a membership site? And so I'm going to create this feel good, a membership site, or you can just buy the online courses separately. But it's going to be this amazing academy that is literally going to touch upon all the ways we stop ourselves from feeling good, feeling God, our thoughts, our habits, our emotions, our connections to our bodies. And it's going to be its own world of the ways I have learned to more deeply feel good, to more deeply feel God. And because of you, really, I have literally no fear about, I'm just going to launch one course a quarter, right? So I'm going to start with how to listen to God in July. Then I'm going to launch the Feel Good Way for Painful Habits in October. Then hopefully Brian is willing to join me. I'm going to do the Reignite one in January. And so I have the confidence of my content, which I've always had, but now I have the confidence of how to launch a course and how to do it in a way that works and that creates great income, so that I can create this academy and literally have infinite content that I will create, and that then once I do it live, which you've taught me as well, through making it a lower end course, that will create passive income over the next 10, 15, 20 years. And it feels like all my spiritual work is grounded because of you, right? It's grounded, and it's grounded not just for today, but really I'm creating something that, the legacy, right? That for the rest of my life, I'm going to have this content will be serving others and making a financial contribution to me. So it's really, I feel like the best place I have ever felt professionally. So thank you for the part you play in that every day.
Well, I'm such a believer of, and we say we're the League of Angels, right? We're you and several of us, like we all bring our gifts and we stir each other up in different ways. And so I just want to say to those of you who are on here, thank you so much for your being a part of this and gifting us with your presence. And my intent in conducting this interview was for you to be inspired by Isabelle, to be inspired by the possibilities, and also to ground you in the fact that it is completely doable. And I have some resources, both free as well as paid, to walk you through this process. So if you're thinking, okay, I do work with clients, or maybe like Isabelle, you're burnt out doing one-on-one and you're thinking, how can I go to group? And can I still transform lives at the same level if they're in a group? And I'll tell you, I've seen sometimes it's even more exponential when you take it to a group, and virtually anything that you do one-on-one can be converted to a group. The second thing you might be asking is, can I add this as an additional income stream? And I say, absolutely. Personally, it's my philosophy that all of us who feel called to make a difference in the world, and we're saying, like, I want to create a legacy, I want to impact people with my story, one of the most practical ways that we can take the word legacy and ground it is by creating an online course, something that somebody can digest visually, auditorily, and with worksheets to implement the work, and ideally get that additional coaching from you. But imagine this kind of work can continue in the world. If you create it once, you can continue to sell it over and over and over again. So it's my personal philosophy that it's one of the most practical ways that you could truly make a difference in the lives of others is to take your life experience, to take your expertise, and to create an online course or coaching program. Now, my philosophy is also that you can turn that into multiple streams of income. So if you've ever been thinking about, I want to have a book, well, your program transcribed is your first manuscript. And they're tied in together. Your book and your programs can be tied in together. If you're saying, I want to speak on stages, one of the smartest things I did was to launch an online program that got me invited to multiple stages because people finally got, oh, you're the queen of multiple streams of income and about being personally branded and sharing your message. Yep, I can help you. And so I got invited to stages because people got clarity more of what I did. And if you're thinking, and I have a lot of people in my network who are in the network marketing industry as well, because that's the business that I sold in order to go into doing this work. And if you represent a company, what is your message? What is your bigger, broader message? And how can we take what you do and package it into something that you can sell over and over and over as an additional income stream? And it can feed your network marketing business. So in my opinion, virtually anyone can have a program or an online course that packages up what their heart's message is or what their expertise is. And you might be asking, how can I get additional support around this? How can I explore this? Is this for me? Or you already know, and you've been trying to navigate this with confusing advice and all the bright, shiny objects of how to do it online, and you want a simple and elegant model to do it. I encourage you to start with my free gift, freesignatureblueprint.com. Go there, download it, and you'll be exposed to a video training and also the chance to book a call with me. And I don't do these all the time, but I have opened up my calendar just for the next little bit to serve those of you who are saying, I really want to explore this as an option for myself. I feel called to make a bigger impact and a deeper message in the world, and I don't know how. And I need the step-by-step processes that work, and I need to be able to pull together what I'm good at, what I love, and be able to be assured that the market will pay for it. Then let's jump on the phone. And it's been my complete delight to have you.
I want to say something. You're one of the few people that when you say, I'm just opening my calendar now, I usually don't do these. You know, usually people bullshit. They're like, yeah, everybody's like, yeah, right. No. Vanessa is actually one of those people. She's like, no, I'm taking the summer off, Isabelle. So like, and it, like she like lives a life that actually you are so precise about how much you're willing to work and how much you're willing to put energy into the rest of your life as well. So she means it when she says, I usually don't do this. And I also want to say this. Again, no bullshit. One call with you is usually so damn transformative that it's so worth it. Like even in helping you kind of rewire, rethink about yourself in a completely different way. I want to say no bullshit, not because I'm your friend only, but actually because as a professional colleague, you are astounding at what you do. So yes, all her.
And thank you. Thank you, Isabelle. You are my precious friend that I get to enjoy on a day-to-day basis, and we have these amazing conversations, and we're like,
why
we're
didn't
going to
we
share this with the world. I know. And so it's a gift that you were willing to conduct this, to share a little glimpse into your behind the scenes. And I hope people got a taste of the amazing magic that I get to experience every single day in relationship with you. And those of you who are interested in Isabelle's work and you're saying, you know, I really love some of the things that she shared, go to, what's the best website for them to go to?
Go to Facebook. Go to Facebook, because right now I'm building the Feel Good Academy, and I feel like my website doesn't portray me anymore. So just messenger me on Facebook, Isabelle Tierney, easy enough, and I'd love to talk to you. And Nicole, I'd love for you to be an apprentice too, so that would be really fun someday whenever you're ready. So yeah, thank you for having me on. And again, I thought I was going to interview you, so you turned things around. You turned the tables on me. So
well, I think
you.
it's super encouraging
Hi,
because
Michael is on. Sister Isabelle.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Isabelle. Bow and gratitude, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.